Hello, everyone, and welcome to Idle Insights, a show where each week we talk with interesting people across the internet about Idle Champions and Dungeons and Dragons. And with me this week is someone who I have had the pleasure of having on stream quite a number of times, especially this month. Anita, welcome to Idle Insights.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me on
Abs-
this show this time.
I know you've managed to be on quite a few streams, especially this week, but just in general.
Yes.
But for those who haven't caught you on stream just yet, would you let the audience know what you normally do here at Idle Champions?
Yeah, well, I'm Anita. I am one of the artists working on Idol Champions, and yeah, I draw things, lots of things.
You draw cool things, and specifically, we're going to talk a lot about Lae'zel today because you were the person responsible for drawing all of Lae'zel's equipment, correct?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. So I think a lot of our audience, when they picture Idol Champions, the first thing that comes to mind is the champions themselves marching across the screen. And especially when it comes to champions like Lae'zel from Baldur's Gate, you're really picturing them and maybe some of the outfits that they're in. But just as important from an art standpoint is their gear, which I know a lot of the people who are playing are always interested in leveling that gear up, but they don't always get a chance to look at the art in them. And we thought we'd take a little bit of time and chat specifically about that because it's a whole fun process, but also, well, actually, let me just start from the beginning and ask. So you've done equipment for a bunch of different champions, correct?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So before we get specifically into Lae'zel, when you are approaching these equipment pieces, because there's at least 6, 12, 18 different versions that you're drawing.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, because each version of the equipment, there's 6 slots, and then each version of the equipment has 4 different rarities, but 3 different versions of them. When you sit down to draw a whole bunch of equipment pieces for a champion, what's the first things that you look at or research or kind of sit down and do?
Right. So, actually, most of the time, the like research part is mostly done because, well, depending on who we're working with, we get, I guess, like a list of the items that they want for each of the equipment. Some of them are more specific, some of them are less specific, but in the case for Lae'zel, it was quite specific. So they had specific items that were already listed, and if there were like specific like colors or like imagery that they wanted to make sure that were in the icons, they had that written down. So that part was kind of all done. And once that's given to us at Idol Champions and given to the artists, we basically go through that list. And if we have any questions, we ask them. And if not, we kind of just go from there. We also are given a bunch of image references too. So that's definitely very helpful. Less Google imaging on my part. Yeah, and once I get the image references, have like the general whatever the item is going to be already set in the stone. It's kind of just like drawing them and making sure they represent what they're supposed to represent on paper.
Awesome. So because you've done this for a little while, I'll ask, and if you can't think of one off the top of your head, I totally understand. What's the strangest piece of equipment that you've drawn?
Oh, strangest.
Because while you think about that,
right.
I'm sure the people at home, there's some strange things that champions are carrying around with them. And I say that as someone who has a champion in the game who's carrying around some strange things. I mean, I definitely remember that moment where we were talking about marshmallows and bag of marshmallows and then like the stuff that marshmallows are made out of and like, wait, this is a character for a D&D game and marshmallows are that important? But So
Yeah, it's important to the character. So
absolutely. But like what's the strangest art order for a piece of equipment you can think of?
oh, uh, I can't specifically name a character with their item because it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I've drawn like jar of eyeballs before.
Oh yeah.
Like some sort of strange food items and insects and taxidermied stuff. Yeah, it's like it is strange, but once I get like a little like blurb on like why this item is important to this character, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's neat. So
There is a lot of food. There is food is a reoccurring theme when it comes to D&D characters, both in game and then just in the stuff that they're carrying. I have a list somewhere of all of the champions in our game that are currently carrying in their equipment something that is edible, and it's a long list. But going back to more specific things, I'm gonna pull up some of Lae'zel's equipment because
yeah.
Lae'zel is not just the most recent champion that you got a chance to draw equipment for, but they're a champion from Baldur's Gate 3, which has people behind it who were probably giving you all this information instead of just like a content creator. So was there anything different about putting together Lae'zel's equipment versus others because you're getting that information from a team of people, possibly?
Right. Well, like I said before, there was the whole like write-up and um, details and image references. So I think because they were a company that was behind Lae'zel, the images, I believe, some of it was actually from the game, which helped tremendously for the accuracy and like for all the details and all that stuff. And then like some of them were like not too specifically Lae'zel, but like Baldur's Gate related. So there was like images from their other source materials and whatnot. So definitely having those images in game and like other source material uh, felt definitely a big difference from say a regular content creator who like maybe has like fan art or like something they drew themselves and or like just a description of like a certain item.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That yeah, you could just grab in-game images
Yeah.
and I have to imagine, especially Lae'zel, and there's no spoilers here. We're not going to spoil anything about Baldur's Gate 3. But Lae'zel is a pretty serious character, so I doubt she's carrying around anything too weird. In fact, I'm going to pull up. We were just looking at some of your sketches, but for a moment, I'm actually going to pull up the regular in-game, the final art, at least the epic versions of them. And yeah, a lot of these are armor pieces and rings and swords and things like that. When it comes to drawing some of the armor and the weapons, because you're doing like a small version of them and there's a lot of them, is there anything you have to keep in mind to try to keep them unique?
Ooh. Well, I mean, looking at Lae'zel's items, they all are very unique. Because in her case, a lot of her, at least her armor pieces and weapons, they're very I guess Gith unique or Gith centric. So from my knowledge, I don't think we've ever had a like Gith. I think we have one maybe, but Gith Yankee character.
Yeah, we've got
So
a Gith Zerai in
yes,
Narak. So, but I
right.
think that's it. So she's definitely the
Yeah,
first Gith Yankee, as far as I remember. Someone in
as far
chat
as
will
I know
probably
too.
let us know if we're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, so in that way, her armor is unique because they have like the red gems and the very intricate swirly designs. And yeah, I guess just like for me, I just had to make sure it was accurate to the image references that I was given. So yeah.
And I did forget at the beginning of the show to say we are live. And so, hi, chat. How you doing? We do have the fabulous Gabe in chat as our moderator. So if you do have questions for Anita, go ahead and put those in chat. Put question in big capital letters before your question. That way Gabe can grab it and store it for us, as we'll try to get to a couple of those questions at the end of the show. But for now, let's go back to talking about this equipment. So you were very kind in grabbing some of your initial sketches, and that's kind of the first things that we were looking at. We got the ranged weapons, sword, Githyanki links, which a lot of the time these equipment pieces, there are a variety of things that all kind of level up. And then I think, let's get the other half of that. Oh, there we go. There's so many images. I just grabbed too many images. And we got armor, boots, and magic items. So what folks are seeing right now are these first initial sketches. When you sent this to me as sketches, but looking at especially the armor, there is just a ton of detail in here. Is this really like the last step just before you put color and start coloring and shading?
Honestly, yes. So the sketches that we do, when they're equipment icons or characters for a content creator or a content company, I guess, we usually try to do the sketches pretty neat and tidy, just for the ease of the content creators we're working with, because sometimes like sketches can be pretty loose and messy. So just to avoid any confusion and like all the content creators part asking like, what is this weird like loopy thing that you did? Just like try to eliminate all those questions that I guess come up if the sketch was more loose. That's why our sketches are pretty tight and clean. But yeah, that's pretty much like step one. And then once it's okay, then there's no changes. We just head straight to coloring.
That's awesome. And now, this is not the first time that I've been involved in an interview with somebody who has brought up stuff that makes me think back to when Orkira was getting put into the game, and me wondering, was I one of those content creators who asked the wonky questions about things? I probably was.
Oh no. I mean, that honestly, like those are fair questions. So yeah, I mean, it's your character, so you got to make sure it's according to what you like and you're happy with the final results.
Well, I always have been, so there you go.
Hey.
But yeah, it's interesting trying to walk that line of like, here is a finished sketch, something that you can hand off to someone that looks done, but isn't really done. How much back and forth is there for these equipment pieces? And was there more or less with Lae'zel because of the fact that it's a company that you're working with? It's a couple people.
So the process, I believe I talked about this briefly before on another stream, but the process, well, we have meetings with content creators. They have their whole write-up, image references, whatever they want to give us, and then they give it to us, hand it to the artist. Artist does the sketch, like initial sketch, like was shown before, and then we hand the sketch off to a list of people within CNE who will either okay it or use their professional judgment and give us some changes. And then after that's okay, we pass that along to the content creators, and they'll go through whether or not they want changeovers or everything is great and we can proceed. If we can proceed, then it comes back to the artist. Artist goes straight ahead, coloring, making it beautiful, and then kind of repeat that cycle again. And then once everyone's okay, we're good to go. And that's it.
Now,
yeah.
Does it include any animations, or is most of the animation kind of on the rig of the actual champion, and all the armor and stuff goes on top of it?
So Technically, yes, but also no. So, for
so
equipment
so
specifically.
I'm wearing the Champions of Psychology shirt, so I'll say what you're saying is it depends.
Um, Not really, actually.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a yes and a no to the answer. So, I mean, traditionally wise, the characters themselves, like you see them moving in game, that's, typical animation. So, yes, that goes into animation. However, for the equipment, none of that moves, but we still have to put that into our animation program to
Oh.
set it up a specific way. But I don't really know the process after putting it into the animation program. So that's why the answer is yes and no, because yes, we put it into the program that animates stuff, but we don't animate it.
It's just there for backup purposes, just in case. Just in case you got to animate something. You never know.
Yeah, maybe bring somebody else on who knows the, back end process for that. They can answer the question for you.
And that is why it takes a team to make a game and to keep up to date with a
Yes.
game.
Mhm.
We got in a question that I know I said I was going to ask the questions at the end, but now is kind of the perfect time to ask it from Star Chaser 43. What piece of Lae'zel's equipment took the most time to do or the least amount of time? And finally, thanks for your art.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the question. Okay.
And I'll pull back
Which
up.
one? hmm Which one took the most amount of time and the least amount of time?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm okay. The least amount of time, probably the rare Gith Yankee links, which is the crystals. Um, Simply because it's a simple drawing and it was relatively easy to just knock out. Um, the longest was probably the common uncommon armor. Um,
Oh,
just
yeah, I can see with the amount of detail.
yeah, yeah. The detail, and also if you look at like the full colored version, there's a lot of color in there. Compared to like all the other ones, it's just like, grays and a little bit of hints of red and white. So this one's like yellow, brown, and the jewels are like red, yellow, green, blue. It was a lot of colors, and a lot of tiny, tiny pieces that I had to, make sure were visible and also colored. So that one probably took the longest to do.
And that makes sense. And just in general, when it comes to working at Idle Champions, do you focus on equipment or have you been doing other things art wise?
So actually, everyone on the art team knows how to do quite a bit of stuff. So we're like, none of us are specifically designated to do certain things or certain game assets. So we kind of do some sort of rotation. I'm not in charge of rotations. I don't know the how the stuff gets dealt out. But yeah, like we basically all know how to do like equipment, characters, backgrounds, icons, monsters. And then there's a few select people that know how to do the key art. I'm not one of them, unfortunately, so I don't know how to do the key art. But yeah, everyone kind of just knows how to do the majority of the stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
And I'm going to grab another question that actually just came in because this was a question that I was going to ask anyway, but from Vincent wants to know, before designing art for this game, did you ever play D&D? So
Oh.
I will tack on to that. How did you get into D&D?
Right. So yeah, to answer Vincent's question, yes, I did play D&D before I started working at CNE, and then how did I get into D&D is a quite a longer story.
Hey, that's what we're here for. I'm here for all the
Yeah,
stories. I got a drink. We got a bunch of people in chat. Anything you want to talk about, we're here for.
perfect. So, actually, contrary to what I believe most people or how they started in D&D, I actually didn't get started at school or like like as a young kid, I didn't know any. I had no idea D&D existed. So I only started once I finished university. And I think for a lot of people, they got into D&D through Critical Role. So I had a friend who like one day asked me, "Hey, have you heard about Critical Role?" I'm like, "No, what is this?" So he explained to me what Critical Role was, and I was very interested in voice actors playing quote unquote make believe and rolling dice. And I was like, "Oh, cool, that sounds cool." And basically listened, binge listened um season one pretty much all in one go.
Oh,
Uh, yeah,
that's a lot. I
it's a
mean,
lot.
it's super cool, but that's a lot of hours of D&D.
Yes. Yeah, I would usually just like have it like as background noise while I was like doing something else. So I wasn't like actively watching. I was like I said, I was more binge listening.
But that's
So
that's the great
yeah.
thing about shows like Critical Role, but like any D&D is you really can just listen to it and pretty much get everything out of it like it's a radio play. And then every once in a while just kind of look over and look at the cool
Yeah.
map that Matt brings out when there's a
Yeah.
fight. All right, so
Hmm.
you're listening to all of season 1 of Critical Role while you're doing stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And then pretty much I got caught up and then like finished season one as it was airing. Um and then, they announced season two and I was like, oh my gosh, I get to watch it from like the beginning. That's amazing. And once my friend like knew I was hooked into Critical Role, he was like, hey, so I kind of want to like try playing D&D too. And like he was already playing with a group of people and he was like, you want to like try it out? So I literally like tried. I think I almost finished season one. So not long after that, I got into my first game. I played a shifter rogue,
Ooh.
which was very interesting. And as a newbie player, doing all the dice and the calculations was like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing. But it was still a great time. And currently I am in like three different campaigns. So
Nice.
that's how far I've dove into that wormhole.
Oh,
So
that's
to say.
amazing. All right, so you're in 3 different
Yeah.
campaigns. Are you running any of them or are
Hmm.
they all players?
So two of them I am a player solely, and then the third one I actually co-DM with the friend that got me into Critical Role. So yeah, we kind of like take turns, basically taking an arc uh in the story, and each of us have our own players, but whenever we're DMing, we're just like, oh, our players like off somewhere doing something else, just so we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so it's really fun. I tend to play players that are or play characters that are vastly different from me, or I'll take a facet of myself that I don't usually explore and like go fully into that and see what kind of personality comes out of that. So it's always fun to just explore things, personalities, decisions that I normally in real life would not go or tend go towards. Um, yeah, and it's always fun, and all the players and the DMs is they're amazing. They'll let me do weird things. Yeah.
That is one of the joys of not just D&D but TTRPGs in general, of having that opportunity to try on different personality traits and things. Sometimes just for the fun of it, of being like, I've always just wanted to be the little scamp who steals everything but is endearing to everybody. And sometimes, you try on something that you're like, maybe this is something I'm interested in, exploring myself. Or I've definitely made characters that have traits that are things that I am trying to get better at myself. Of like, all right, I'm gonna make sure that this character, that one of their defining traits is this, because I gotta get better at that. So now I'll ask, if it's at this point not too personal, what characters are you playing right now?
Oh, okay. I feel like I've also answered this, maybe with Mars, but I'll gladly share. So let me think. So the campaign that I'm co-DMing in, I play a Water Genasi Tempest cleric.
Oh, so good. I love
Yeah,
Tempest clerics.
yeah, she is very book smart, but very naive in everything else. She's very fun to play. And then another campaign that I'm doing, we're slowly going through Radiant Citadel.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so I play a dark elf, Mark of the Shadow sorcerer, I think. It's been a while. We're kind of a bit on hiatus for that one.
Ah,
But yeah, I basically thought up of her because I saw an image of a really cool tattoo, like an ankle tattoo that like went all the way up someone's leg.
wow.
And I was like, I want my character to have that. So I also like the fact that Radiant Citadel is like, a very rich, culturally rich, colorful campaign setting. And I have this character who just doesn't like color for personal reasons, and like all her powers are just like dark shadows, and I find that really interesting.
Nice.
Interesting contrast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then for my third campaign, it's actually not Dungeons and Dragons, but it's Blades in the Dark, so it's still a TTRPG. That one, I guess the best way I could describe the character in D&D terms is a drider. And I guess she would be a warlock, I guess, like closest to what I can pick for a D&D class.
Yeah.
But she basically has magic powers that are derived from essentially the ethereal plane in D&D terms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she basically can talk to ghosts, and she has a very sad backstory. Um, some of the ghosts that she can communicate with is actually her children.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Oh,
Yeah, and
that's
we'll leave it at
oof.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and also one of those like, oh yeah, this is serious fun.
Yeah, serious fun.
It's
So,
it's those
mhm.
TTRPGs where you're like, because I've definitely been in those, in where you come out of 2 hours of like intense emotions and even crying, and then be like,
Yeah.
that felt good. I was crying for 2 hours, but that felt good. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just that release,
Mhm.
but ooh, emotions.
Yeah. Like there's definitely very heartwarming moments, like when I play as that character and like, communicating with people that she knows. So it's like, oh, that's sweet. But also it's like bittersweet.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I'm going to stop for just a second to let everybody in chat know that we're about to run a giveaway. And by we, I mean Gabe, the awesome moderator in chat. They're going to be putting a code word into chat, and then all you have to do is type that word into the chat to enter the giveaway for your chance to win 42 chests of your choice, excluding Bahama chests, but anything else is up for grabs. And it looks like Anita art is the code word,
Yay.
because Gabe is always on top of that word. So
Amazing.
so if you're listening, if you're doing the lurk and work or the listen, or if you're over on Steam listening in, come on by the Twitch chat so that you can enter for a chance to win some art. Some art. Actually, yeah, you're kind of winning some art. Win some chests that have a lot of really cool art in it. Probably art that Anita drew. Speaking of art that you drew, You've been going to a lot of conventions recently, and not like I think a lot of people in general, when we're talking about conventions, are thinking like the giant ones, Gen Con and San Diego Comic Con. But you've been enjoying some of the smaller ones around here. Tell me a little bit about that and what got you into showing up at farmers markets.
Yeah, so I mean, I do like literally last weekend. I actually was at uh Anime Revolution in Vancouver.
Oh, nice.
So that's one of the bigger ones that I went to. But yeah, you I tried to go to, or I tried a table at a bunch of smaller local craft fairs. Farmers markets, that sort of thing, art fairs, and all that stuff. How I got into it, I actually started pre-pandemic, actually, but not too often. I think I only did like there was like in my area there was a like a uh comic fair, I guess, and a zine fair. So those were the two that I did before everything happened, everything shut down. But I only really did it like twice. Um, and it was like two markets throughout the entire year. So it's like it was just like a small thing that my friend who got me into Critical Role got me into.
What I'm hearing is that we all need to thank this friend of yours for getting you
Yes,
into all this awesome
yes.
stuff, so that we can enjoy your enjoyment of all this awesome stuff.
Yes. Shout out to my friend Jazz. I don't know if you're watching, but thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so pandemic happened, everything shut down, there was no more fairs, like gatherings of any sort. And it was only really until I think 2 years ago, in the winter, that I kind of picked back up again. I still started very small though. I think like the first one back, I did like like a Christmas market, holiday market at a community center. Um, and kind of just talking to the people there, like I got introduced to like other markets that they will tell me like, hey, you should try this market out, or you should try this market out. I think your stuff would do well in there. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And pretty much this year, I made it a goal to get into as many markets, cons, fairs as I could. I'm already in the double digits now,
Oh,
and it's yeah. So yeah, it's very fun. Like I think as an artist, there's that mentality of like, selling stuff or selling your art in general, I think is like, I don't know, maybe it's the self-consciousness of an artist that like, oh, no one wants to buy my stuff. It's like artwork that like I drew, and it's, I don't know, that mentality. I definitely had that mentality, still kind of do. And it's just so heartwarming to like, be at a table selling your stuff and having like random strangers come up to your table and just be like, I love your art, and like complimenting me. And it's like literally like you did not have to say anything. You're literally getting nothing out of like complimenting me. And it's just like, yeah, literally they're just saying it because they actually really genuinely like my work. And it's like, it just feels so good.
that's
And it
awesome.
feels nice. Yeah. And the fact that people spend their money on stuff that I make is also just mind blowing to me. So yeah.
So, out of curiosity, what kinds of art are you bringing to these fairs? Like, what is it? Just some of the fun stuff that you enjoy doing at home, or is there a specific kind of art that you're bringing to sell at a convention?
So it is, personal work. My personal work looks quite different from stuff that you might see in Idol Champions. I make a lot of very, what I call obnoxiously colorful things. It's very colorful. Like it is an eye strain to look at my stuff. But yeah, I do a bunch of like art prints, stickers. I've recently ventured into making more, I guess, I don't know, like not paper goods.
Mm.
So for example, Lily, this earring that I'm wearing is actually I designed this earring. It's I don't know
That's
if you can
so
tell, but it's literally it's a shrimp crackers.
ah, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And then also, since I have it on my table already, I recently also this is probably like one of my more recent stuff, but I actually designed this hat.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Well, now
yeah,
folks can see. I don't think that's obnoxious at all, but I can see all of the color that you're talking about. It's definitely very
yes,
bright. So, um,
yes.
that's amazing. So, do you make some of that stuff yourself? Do you contract with somewhere like a hat maker or something? Like, once because obviously you're doing the art. Where do you go to get the actual physical good?
At least for the art prints and the stickers, I try to get them either done locally or, within Canada, because that's where I am. Because, shipping costs lots of money.
Yeah.
So those things I try to get within, my area or Canada. But for like things like the hat and the earrings, I have to outsource outside of Canada and get those done because getting them done in Canada or the States, it costs a lot of money.
Mm.
So yeah, try to, get the best quality of stuff, without, you know, charging myself an arm and a leg, so to say. And also try to keep my prices affordable for, people who want to buy my stuff. Because I find that the crowd that I usually attract is like high schoolers to like young adults. So especially for the high schoolers, like I know that they can't shill out a lot of money. So, try to keep things affordable whoever I can. So,
That's amazing. I love that you've branched out into that other stuff because I think a lot of people who have gone to any size convention are used to seeing the prints that a lot of artists put out. But to have the chance to get something else, something unique like a hat or jewelry or something, that's super cool. Is it the kind of thing in where you've drawn something and then look at it and go, this would be really good on a hat? Or do you think, I really want to make something for a hat and then do the art?
honestly, all the stuff that I make is just stuff that I want.
I
Yeah,
mean,
because I can't find it anywhere or it'll like cost like a lot of money for me to just buy myself. And I'm just like, well, I have the skills to just like design exactly what I want, and I know how I could get it made. So I might as well just make a bunch, and hopefully other people will like it too and buy it too. And it's usually been the case. So
there you go.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you would be like, I'm going to make the stuff that I want because you know what? There's going to be people out there who have the same tastes, who are going to walk by and go like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So,
Yeah.
are there any conventions you've got coming up soon that you can let the folks at home, if they happen to be in the Pacific Northwest or wherever the conventions are, what conventions do you have coming up that you want to let people know about?
Oh, I mean, the conventions and markets that I have lined up, they're all local within my area. So I don't know if anybody is local to Vancouver, Canada. I think the next one is actually Sunday. I'm gonna be at a it's like a Japanese cultural farmers market at the
Ooh.
Nikkei Garden Center. So I'll be there. And then the next larger one is the week after, which is the Japan Fall Market, which I believe is happening in downtown. So yeah, feel free to come on over, say hi. If you want to talk about Idol Champions, I'll gladly talk about Idol Champions. Yeah,
Pick up a hat. I,
pick up a hat if you so desire.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I just realized something that is actually really, really cool as you mentioned these two smaller but still, conventions or festivals or whatever. Um, yeah, a lot of us are thinking about conventions and it's PAX, it's Gen Con, it's, those big ones that are very focused on that kind of geek atmosphere. But even considering going to some of those local markets, not just to be able to do something local, but then to have the experience of being part of something that isn't necessarily geek centric, like the Japanese festival that you're talking about. I didn't ever think about like being able to go to something like that and then also seeing a table of art and like at a farmer's market or something. So that's actually really cool to be able to have that variety of places to go to. Do you have any specific requirements for the festivals that you join, or is it just, hey, if this sounds cool and I got the time and they're offering table space, I go?
Um, like there are definitely certain things that I look out for when I'm trying to or I'm considering tabling at a market. I mean, definitely gotta look at the price, gotta look at, I guess, the credibility of the organizers or the market. Because a bunch of new ones keep popping up, so I just gotta make sure, like, is it worth my time to invest my time and effort into tabling something that's brand new? And yeah, just a lot of like logistical things of like, is there gonna be a good turnout? Is it outdoors? Is it like, I don't know, the season? Is it gonna be cold? Is it gonna be, I don't know, is there other markets happening at the same time that like might have better foot traffic or whatnot? Definitely a lot of things to consider. But the ones that I usually go to, I have gone to before, or I have like gone just as an attendee in the beginning, just to like scope out the area and see and like talk to the people, talk to the vendors there, and like ask them how it's going and if they think it's worthwhile for them. Um, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to consider, but like this is just my viewpoint, but anytime I'm tabling at a market, like I'm mostly there to just, talk to people, meet cool people, meet other talented vendors there, have great conversations with people. If I make money, great. Like that's more of a secondary thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not the same mindset that everybody has, but that's fine. So, um, I'm not gonna be too, bummed out if I don't make money. So
I think that's a great mindset to have because it is just every interaction is a win at that point, right?
yeah, I meet so many interesting people. I've met like so many people in the animation industry, the gaming industry, that'll just like, I guess they frequent these sorts of smaller local markets and like, they'll find out I work for Idol Champions and like we'll just have like a great conversation about, the industry, art stuff, all that cool stuff.
Yeah. And that's something to keep in mind for those of us that are attendees at conventions of any kind. That like, uh, I often say the reason I go to conventions is to just see people I don't get to see in person at all or very infrequently, and it's a chance to connect with those people and meet new people. And keeping in mind that the vendors too, like you don't necessarily have to be looking to purchase something from someone who's tabling. Just going up and saying something like, hey, this art is super cool. Where else do you show? What else are you up to? Is going to maybe make some artist day, and also you get to meet some cool people. Speaking of cool people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was supposed to say, like, I can assure you 100% of the time, if you just talk to, an artist tabling there and like compliment their work, it will 100% make their day.
There you go. So speaking of cool people, we got a couple cool people in chat. Well, we got a lot of cool people in chat, but a couple who submitted some questions that I'm going to grab real quick as we've a few minutes left. This one I'm going to preface for those who don't know. We talked about it we touched on it very briefly at the beginning. Anita has had the joy of being on several shows, not just this week, but this month. And so the lurking writer wants to know, what's your favorite fruit to use for scale?
That has been suggested, or like what would be my personal favorite fruit?
They're asking your personal favorite fruit to use for scale in a piece of art.
I mean, just for the fact that I might be able to like draw it, a dragon fruit.
Ooh.
Yeah. They're very, very pretty to color and draw.
They are
I'll happily draw
gorgeous.
that.
Yeah. And
They
they're
are.
delicious
Yeah.
too. I haven't had one in a very long time,
Yeah.
but if you've never tried one at home, absolutely, if they've got them in the store near you, give it a try.
Hmm.
The outside looks like a fireball, and then the inside is like vanilla ice cream. It's so good.
Yeah.
There you go. Dragon fruit for the win. Let's see. Star Chaser 43 wants to know, um, you've done such wonderful art for earrings, hats. Have you done any mugs, specifically coffee mugs?
Ooh, I haven't. It's definitely an idea that's at the back of my mind. However, it's not really something that I personally want. So I do have like projects in the back of my mind that I'm like, I really want to make this eventually, but it's definitely like a lot of research in finding, manufacturers if they can make what I want in my vision. Um, and just having the time to actually design it too.
Time, the one thing we all wish we had more of. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Time and money are usually when people ask, hey, how come you're not doing insert thing? My answer often is time and money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lurking Writer also wanted to know what aspects of the work you do for Idol Champions did you initially find challenging, if any, and what came the most easily to you? It's kind of a two-part question.
Okay, so what did I initially find was a challenge? I would have to say backgrounds. Honestly, like even now, there's still like a little bit of like whenever I'm assigned backgrounds, I'm just like, okay, I could do this. Just because there's a lot more technical stuff to keep in mind versus like,
Mm.
doing like skins and like equipment. It's just like, oh, I have like, a written thing, I got image references, okay, just do it. But yeah, like definitely backgrounds is a challenge, still kind of a challenge even now. And what was the second part to the question? I
What's
forgot.
come the most easily to you?
Easily. I think the general style of Idol Champions. I mean, this like I did mention before, like that my artwork color wise very different from Idol Champions. But I think the general style, like the cartooniness and like I guess some of the color scheme is not too far from the stuff that I do personally. So it's I think in that way, just like initially jumping on to like adapting to the Idol Champion style was not as difficult for me. So
That's awesome. And definitely it's one of those things and where when I think people are always the most impressed by that of like not only are you an amazing artist that can do your own thing, but then you can completely match the style of this game and several other artists and all of you are working together to look like one person is responsible for all of that. I think that's always super impressive. So unfortunately, we have reached the end of our time here. So thank you so much for joining us. If anyone wanted to find out more about your amazing art on the internet, where could they find you?
yeah, you can find me over at Instagram and Twitter, both at Anita Artlet, spelled ANITARTLET.
Awesome. And definitely, if you happen to be in the Pacific Northwest and you're looking at going to some of these small fairs and conventions, go and have some fun and go look for some awesome artists who might be tabling there. Thank you so much to Gabe for being our moderator for today. Thanks to everybody in chat for hanging out with us. And once again, thank you to Anita, especially this week where it wasn't intentional, but it was greatly appreciated that you have joined us several times on this is Anita Week. We'll just call it Anita Week. It's been great.
It's Anita Week.
It's Anita Week. I know you've been on Sketching Hour quite a bit, and we look forward to having you back soon. But for the moment, we'll see you next encounter. Bye.
Bye.